Okay. Well, you cannot be a radio host or a podcast host and in the same time a producer and a technology, expert. And sorry. And if I used to have some staff members helping me and supporting me here, it's been a little bit difficult recently to keep individual people focused and engaged. So it's a good topic for another time. But welcome to You Change the World, and welcome to this freedom, another freedom topic that I would like to suggest to you, to all of you. I am extremely passionate about it because this is what is probably getting most of the people that I know stuck into this myth that we are dependent on so many things that, in fact, we could really free ourselves from. So it's a little bit near therapy, if you will, because it's a psychological mindset, it's a psychological status for each one to find a balance and to find a middle lane where you can really enjoy freedom to the extent you can. Obviously, we're never entirely free, but for the things that we are not free about, that we can really free ourselves, we need to free ourselves. Now, before I get to this, I just want to give you a little bit of housekeeping because there is different things we can do here to increase the efficiency of this show. Number one, that you should know, it is available in different channels. It is available on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on X, Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook for the social media side of things. For the podcast, really the traditional podcast channels such as Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and a couple of more on the podcast side. And thirdly, on all the different social media that I mentioned, this usually is staying there as a recorded show, so you can always get to the one you want. Or again, the best reference is the YouTube channel. And also, please subscribe to it if you did not yet, because this is really motivating us to continue this effort. Like I just went through this nervous breakdown kind of situation to try to get here and broadcast. Um, we have been talking about this a couple of times, as I mentioned, and more than a couple of times, and I'm keeping talking about it every single day. We are really into a very interesting time about this because you should know that we have the ability to make our choices and bold choices to challenge the status quo, or is it this inner freedom to lead from your values, even when the system around you resists it? The system around you is an organization, is your own organization, or different people that work for you, with you, your customers, your suppliers. You always have those different strings that goes all over the place. And as the image shows in my promotion of this show for today, you can have your hands tight with a rope around it or cufflinks, and it's a catastrophe. And you do not want this to happen. So I would like to say to you the following. It is very good to step back every second of the day, not jump in, not be reactive, but we are human beings and we leave our emotions as well. What we do most of the time with emotional intelligence is to be on top and be really in control. Emotional intelligence is really some kind of a control you have over yourself. You don't want to allow everything to come to you or allow any abuse or anything that is negative, even energy, negative energy, being on your way. And to just be able to do that, you need to own the moment. You need to own it to the extent of that it's remaining between you and your destiny. I said destiny because not everybody believes in God. But if you be a God believer, then it would be between God and you and God. You have no other entity, authority, influence than that. Normally, that's the pure freedom, the freedom between you and your destiny. I hope you understand what I mean, but it is really what it is. We can plan as much as we want to plan. Things can change, things can be completely planned differently for you if you believe that there is a program or a plan for you that is a divine plan or something much higher than yourself. But we are required, sorry, to be in control and to make those plans with responsibility and ownership. So I start right there. That's the freedom of choice. What is the choice I make in front of a situation or ahead of a situation? Even the choice I make about the past, about how to analyze the past situation and make it something positive for myself. Positive, extremely positive, because positive is the fuel for making your life and for making that moment a quality moment or a quality life. So it's very philosophical and it's very basic, but it is something that I keep in mind as much as I can. And especially, in fact, it's easier when you're coaching someone like a doctor is, treating some people. We are better doctors and better coaches to others than we have to ourselves. That's a very normal thing. I am not even concerned about it because it's very natural. But that's really very, very much what it is. Now, I said being dependent on external factors, people, employers, a boss, a client, a customer, a trend, television, news, influences. And now you are the one to decide. Am I a sponge and I take everything that comes my way and I believe it? And those are called beliefs because they are very good in propaganda and other kind of other techniques to make you believe things. It can start in your family circle. It can be around you in your friend circle, influencers that are writing, that are getting to you, or you are looking for their opinion and their influence proactively. You read their books, and your brain is processing all of that. But I don't know exactly where in the brain is located the choice aspect of things, because that's where the wisdom is. Are you making the choice to believe? Are you making the choice to be, in fact, um, protecting yourself, having some boundaries? Are you also smart and wise not to take something personally? Well, that comes from many, many emotions, even your emotions when you were a kid or your traumas that in fact make you and influence your choices. So that's the psychology side of things, as explained by me in a short show, in a short manner, because I don't have much of the time to do it differently. So now we are talking about the depth of dependency and the way our brains functions, but it's really about choices. Now, what are the invisible chains that we wear at work, for example? The fear of judgment could be one chain. The fear of failure, another one. The fear of stepping outside the way things are done here, like something, by looking at other people or by just having to be a follower or an alignment to a policy, to a culture. And then you make the choice. It doesn't contradict my core values. It's required of me because I'm an employee and I'm paid for being here. Then, I have no problem with that culture, no problem with this requirement, no problem with this expectation. And I'm making the choice that I'm going to follow it. And I even subscribe to it. I even agree with it, whatever this is. But there is all kind of things that you're processing in that place of your brain where the choice is made. But you're your own board of directors here. You're the decision maker. That's what your decision is about. Am I doing to do this? Am I doing to think about this? Am I going to think about this? From the thought that I had on this, what do I choose? Is it compatible to everything that I have placed in my mind or trained myself to control, to be in control of, to own, to be responsible for? And then these filters, call them the filters, allow me to make usually a wise decision or having a very small margin of error about being too far from these things that I decided about myself. Again, We leave it to the moment. And in a moment, we have emotions. And emotions probably are the first trigger of making that choice. And if you leave it entirely to your emotion, you have to be lucky that your decision will be wise. But it is definitely dangerous. Now, the ambiguity, especially in 225, in 2025. And for me, coaching people in large corporations, I sometimes ask myself, hey, is it something that they want really, this ambiguity? Why do they keep things unclear? Why this boss is telling two people, different people in his team or her team, the same thing, the same amount of responsibility, the same showcasing of confidence that is in fact very not sincere, but should kind of engage that person to do something and not make the choice that it is one of the two that it should own that responsibility and tell the other one who is not going to get this responsibility that has nothing to do with him or with her, right? It's just that I need to designate someone and I pick the other one for multiple reasons that have nothing discounting the other, right? But to live in limbo, status quo, two people that are going to do the same thing because I'm afraid to tell one of them that he's not going to get this responsibility and have a redundancy and keep the ambiguity. But guess what? It's one person who lacks this confidence to make that right and to provide that clarity in the communication, but it can be the entire organization not sure about what to do. There is an economical crisis. There is any kind of hesitation, and they don't want to make a decision until, for some reason, and maybe it never happens, there will be clarity about making the right decision. The fear of making a mistake, of failure, keep the company in status quo, keep that boss or that board of directors on a status quo. They're not making decisions. They leave it in limbo. Everybody is wondering. And then it allows a whole bunch of toxic thoughts and assumptions to run around and run around and run around. I'm describing to you now a story that I could now translate into a story. And I have those stories available to you. I can tell you any story you want about this. But you know what I mean, because you go through that for sure. Ambiguity and the VUCA thing, the volatility, uh, the all these things that we are, the yes, volatility, uncertainty. The C is always my hesitation, and the A is ambiguity. The C is complexity. So VUCA is something I think that has been invented after COVID or during COVID, because COVID definitely created chaos. And in chaos, VUCA is the champion. But after that, what do you want to do about it? Are you going to proactively do something to fight for clarity? I'll give you an example, a typical example I gave you already, I think once, but I'm going to give it to you twice because it's one of the lessons I learned in my last job as an executive in an organization. It was in healthcare. I had a peer of mine. She was a former nurse, and she was managing a very big operation. She had 85 people. I don't know if they were reporting all to her, but this was 85, if I remember. And we were every Thursday, I think, afternoon meeting, and we were cross-referencing and departmental in that meeting. So I was there. And she would not start this meeting, never start this meeting without doing something that was a ritual, something that you could count on, totally, um, totally, meant for um, being there. I mean, set as a standard, and it was to ask someone, John and Julie, to stand up in front of everybody and tell everybody what their role was. What is your role, John? What is your role, Julie? Tell everybody. And you have just 3 minutes to do so. They would do that. They would play the game. The following week, that following Thursday, she would talk to John again. She would take John again and ask John to do the same thing. Can you repeat to everyone? And then the second one would be a new one. And we continue and we continue. To tell you how much she was consistent about this is that, first of all, she kept that ritual no matter what. Secondly, even in the day to day, she had to transfer someone from her team to my team. She would call me not less than 3 times a day during this transition to ask me, Andre, are you sure you're clear about the role that she's going to play? Are you sure? Because I don't transfer until I'm sure that you are clear about the role that she's going to play, the role that she plays in your team. Now, what is a role? It's not a job description, it's the role. That can be something punctual in a moment, because for this moment, I need you to do this. That's your role now. And with the people around you, you're going to collaborate, and everybody knows what your role is, and you know everybody's role. Isn't that really basic to enable a collaboration to occur and to be successful, to engage in a high performing moment? Obviously, it is. But it's so obvious. And nobody does this. She taught me an incredible lesson. I can't forget it. It was a day to day, and in the beginning, I was extremely annoyed. I mean, it was just what is she crazy, asking the people to stand up and tell what people's role is. Imagine that CEO. I give that example a lot because I saw that one time. You know, going in the basement and being in charge with the team once a year to count boxes for an inventory. So in that moment, the CEO of a 10,000 people company is downstairs, on his shirt and pulling up his sleeves and being there on the floor counting boxes. Well, if I ask at the moment the role he has, it tells me I'm now in charge of the inventory, or I am in charge of this particular perimeter, and I have to count boxes, write back on the paper everything that I have counted, and give that paper to John. And that's what I have to do for the next 2 hours. That's the role I have right now. That's the role he has right now. I know now what he's doing, right? A clarity, like basic clarity. So there is freedom here, freedom that I have nothing to worry about, freedom that I'm clear about this guy, what he's doing, and what I can do to help, or what I can do more to be more productive and not do the same boxes counting, but go now to this other area and count the bottles. That now we can complement each other. And at the end of the day, we're going to be all doing something very good and very clear, and we'll have the most beautiful inventory that the accounting department wanted. Not a LIFO, FIFO, an inventory of the boxes that we have that in this moment now. And then the accounting department will value what it was and it will put a very exact statement of what this inventory is and is worth. I mean, clarity of roles. Oh my gosh, what a freedom it is. And I just want to say ambiguity, office politics, tough conversations. Where is your freedom hiding? How much time do you spend managing perceptions instead of leading authentically? How much are you going to make assumptions instead of seeing the reality? The biggest dependency, I think, is this level of trust. If you lied to me 2 times or even 1 time, now I'm stuck because I can't trust you anymore. You might be a liar, someone who, in fact, is professionally a liar. You do this all the time. Even you might even believe your own lies. I'm looking for the word for it. You know it. You know it. I don't find it right now in the moment, but it is definitely something uh, that people do and remove freedom. Now, I'm not an idealist. There won't be always a perfect world out there until a certain day comes. I don't know, but right now it's not perfect, and there will be people who will be also with their imperfections around me. So I need to compromise. Of course, I need to compromise. Of course, I have to be very compassionate, really. and express my empathy in every situation in my relationships and not be judgmental, not pull conclusions too fast or at any time, being very much a team player and open minded and open to communication, always. But the dependencies that I relate to, that I refer to, are dependencies that get me stuck or keep me stuck in situations that could be totally, totally clear. And that's what I mean. So there is definitely this word freedom, this word freedom I'm using today for this particular show. And it could be also a series. Each time, in fact, I come back to a topic, it's because I think I didn't say enough, because I was asked by someone to continue or to go deeper. So that's why I should really be more organized and say to you, well, that series is about freedom and we'll have 3 shows about it. I don't know exactly the quantity of example and of ideas I would like to share to kind of help you, inspire you to really check and assess the freedom, your freedom, the way you feel free. Because there is probably a lot of doors that need to be opened, a lot of windows, I don't know, but you need a lot of fresh air in many areas of your lives, and at work especially. So freedom to lead, especially for leaders, means to me freedom to think and to say if you have still enough space to think. Do you take the space to think? Are you making the choice to have this um, unshakable posture, sticking to your values, and being in any space very consistent with yourself? When you are, and be authentic about it, people will read you very well, and they can work with you. They can work for you. They can work. You can work for them. All the relationships, all the interactions become much more clear. As you know, I'm in mediation. And I did mediation for divorce a lot until I decided to do this more on the commercial side because I was too emotional to see people fighting or too emotional to see especially people separating with children in the middle and all those tragedies. So I decided for my own sake and my own health to do a very few if it's really necessary when it's totally indispensable, but focus when it's mediation on commercial mediation. But what do I say? What do I bring about mediation? It's about how much people do not communicate because they are so stuck or they are so uh, judgmental. They can't they can't give the space to the other one to express the opinion. They cannot listen to what the other one says. It's amazing. So when I'm mediating a case, I would say maybe, I don't know, but 50, 60% of my effort is to make sure that they listen to each other. I take a, I take a board and I write 2 columns and I really write very much in bullets what are the people, what do they want each to, respectively, in a deal, in what they want to agree upon. And I write the left side and the right side. I listen, I write it down. Then there is no ambiguity. They know that they said it. I wrote it down. And when we start negotiating or I mediate the negotiation or the conversation to reach an agreement, they know what they said. And they also, if they did not listen to each other, it's there on the clipboard. So I'm saying I'm doing all I can as a coach, as a mediator, to facilitate clarity. And I'm going to close on this. I'm going to close on this and say to you that what's one invisible rule you've been following that's keeping you small, and what's the first step you can take this week to break that? I repeat my question. What's one invisible rule you've been following that's keeping you small, and what's the first step you can take this week to break it? And then experience what happens, and then, as I usually advise it, journal it. That's your journal. You could call it the freedom journal. How many different strings did I cut off today? How much of the chain intensity did I diminish? Did I lower? Because this is really the word, the basic foundation of freedom and of feeling accomplished and being more productive. So I leave you with these words and with this task to do. And I wish you a very good weekend, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.